Hey there, friend. Welcome to the Having a Mom Moment podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Warner. This podcast is all about taking a few moments for yourself and reconnecting to the amazing woman behind the title of mom. You have so many plates spinning at any given time between your kids, your partner, your job, maintaining a household, etc., etc. But where does taking time just for you play into that? Let's spend some time together, you and me, right now. We're going to connect, tune in, and tap into what makes us the incredible woman that we are. We'll nurture ourselves so that we can pour into those who can count on us. We'll also hear from other moms to learn about the ways in which they've tapped into alignment in their own motherhood journeys. Let's roll. We're having a mom moment. Hello, my friends. I am so excited to share this week's episode with you. Our guest is Emily, and she and I go way, way back, as you will hear inside the episode. And she has been so supportive of this Having a Mom Moment podcast endeavor. And when I put it out there that I was looking for guests to interview and share their motherhood journey, she was the first person to raise her hand. And I'm so honored that she's here with us for this episode to share her journey into motherhood that includes the long road that is IVF. I hope you enjoy the episode. Okay, welcome, Emily. I'm so excited to have you on this week's episode of the Having a Mom Moment podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So exciting. This is really fun. Emily and I have known each other for a long time. We were just chatting. We've not seen each other in probably decades at this point, but we met in preschool, I think.
I think it was daycare before preschool, like the daycare preschool.
Yes. Like even way.
There may have been diapers involved.
Yeah.
May or may not.
Yeah. It was a long time. So this is really fun. We have not connected as adulty adults. So I'm looking forward to sharing this motherhood experience with you. So to get us started, do you want to share about your journey into motherhood, your path to motherhood, what that's been like and what it has entailed?
Yeah. So mine is a little bit of a story. It's not a short one. Sorry, in advance. I did have to go through IVF in order to have my son. And, like I said, I think no one goes into trying to have a child unless you have some pre-existing condition or maybe a family history of infertility. You don't plan on it. You don't think about it. It's not a thing. It was never even a thought on either of my husband or myself's brains when we were deciding to pull the goalie. My husband and I got married in 2018. And before we got married, we kind of were like, when do we want to start? We knew we wanted to have kids, but we didn't really have a timeline. So I was like, what are you thinking? My husband is very nonchalant. He's like, whatever you want. He's very much a guy. He's like, whatever you want.
Love that.
Like, okay. I was like, well, how about we start after we get home from our honeymoon? We got married in July. We went to Scotland on our honeymoon in September. I finished up my last pack of birth control, ball on my honeymoon. And we're like, okay, we'll just kind of let nature take its course as you think it would. Because again, up till that point, and it's always weird mind shift because you try for so long not to get pregnant. You're very religious about your birth control. You take it. I had an internal alarm that went off every day at 10 p.m. to take my pill. Mm-hmm. And I was very religious about it. And then it suddenly just be like, oh, now we want to get pregnant. Okay, that's weird. So it takes a minute, but you get there. So you pull the goalie, and I never thought I would have any issues getting pregnant. My mom actually had 2 kids in her 30s. So I was like, well, she can do it. So can I. It was the 80s. So, we had 2 kids in her 30s.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be an issue.
Right.
So pull the goalie, we're like, we'll just enjoy some reckless shagging. And so, you go to Baby Boulevard and several months go by, nothing happens. I'm like, well, you start reading a little bit more about it. And I'm like, well, you should track your cycle. I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And because technically the highest percentage likelihood of getting pregnant during any cycle is 33%.
Oh, wow.
I
I didn't
have
realize
weird factoids like that now
that.
that no one needs, but I have them. So I'm like, okay, I'll track my cycle. You try to figure out when you're ovulating. We instituted fuck week at my house. Sorry.
No, we love it. We're here for it.
But like, all right, we're going to go at it. And okay, that didn't work. All right, well, what's the next step? You get ovulation predictor kits. They look like at-home pregnancy tests, or you pee on them and they give you a little happy face when you are ovulating. And so we got some of those, started tracking that. That didn't work, or it didn't work because I didn't get pregnant. So, and he like, okay, well then maybe get an actual app, because there are apps that are meant to sort of help you get pregnant. I got one of those, or started on one of those. They probably have way too much information about me on the cloud now, but it's what you do. You're like, all right, it's the spaghetti method where you're just throwing stuff at the wall. And still didn't happen. And circle around to the next July when I just had my regular OB yearly exam. And we had been trying and nothing had happened. So I brought it up to my doctor and she's like, well, she's like, how long have you been trying? Like, since September. And she's like, okay, well, let's do some tests. Let's figure out what's going on. So they did they did blood work. I had a hysterogram, which is where they check to see if your fallopian tubes are open. Oh. It is not comfortable. Oh. It's where they take an X-ray of your fallopian tubes, and they use a contrast dye. And the dye burns. It's really, really, really uncomfortable, and you have to try to sit still, which is like, okay, just keep going and hurry up. So I got through that, and that was open. My husband got to have a date with a cup, which is a sperm analysis. That's what he calls it, not me. He had to have a date with a cup, and they checked his sperm analysis, and his sperm count was just like a touch below normal, and all of mine came back normal. And so the doctor was like, okay, well, why don't we just get you some medication? It's to help regulate your cycle and hopefully move things along. Okay. It's a drug called letrozole. It actually has two very different uses. One is for trying to get people pregnant, and the other one is actually for ladies going through breast cancer. Yeah, it's very weird, like two very, very different things. Okay. And she told me, I was like, that's weird. Yeah. Okay. They give you weird information like this. I just, it comes to me. So we did that. They checked me out. I even had, I would go into the doctor after taking the medication at the beginning of the cycle, and they would check to see, okay, you're ovulating, like, go at it. Like, this is your job for the next couple days. Like, go. Well, and of course you had to like try to fit it into, working and trying to be a productive member of society, which, there was a few family functions that may have been missed due to
you gotta do what you gotta do. Like,
I'm like, we can't. I'm not telling people why.
Right.
Like, I'm not having that conversation. Like, I'm sorry, Aunt Sue, I can't come to your barbecue this weekend because, it's fuck week. I'm not going to have that conversation. No, thank you. No, thank you. We're not talking about that. Oh, no. So we did that for 7 months. What they refer to 7 monitored cycles, and obviously it did not happen. And my doctor was like, okay, you kind of have two things you can do here. Either we can keep going with the medication, because technically nothing is wrong, it could just happen naturally, or we can kick it up a notch and you can go to a reproductive endocrinologist, which I will in future call a fancy baby doctor, because it's more fun, frankly. And also it's not a mouthful, like saying reproductive endocrinologist. And I was like, well, let's see if we can't figure this out. Somebody who their only job is to get ladies pregnant. That's her whole job. Mm-hmm. So went to the fancy baby doctor, talked about, what we had tried so far. And she's like, okay, well, we need to do some immediate testing to figure out why you're not getting pregnant, why no baby. Mm-hmm. And so I had to go for a massive amount of blood work. They took 11 vials of blood.
Oh my gosh.
They had to give me the applesauce and the cookie, like they do at the Red Cross.
Yeah.
And so I didn't pass out.
Right.
And my husband went for a second date with a cup, and they did some scans and things, making sure all of my organs were working as they're supposed to. And okay. And so everything on mine came back normal. Mm-hmm. My husband's sperm analysis, his sperm count from the first time they had done it to the second time had been cut in half.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they asked if he would go to see a urologist, which is basically, apart from dealing with lots of pee, they also do men's sexual health, similar to an OBGYN does for women. Mm-hmm. So, and this is right at the beginning of COVID. So it's really fun. It was the first telemedicine visit I've ever been a part of by proxy, because I was also in the house. Oh, wow. And so the doctor had all kinds of questions. And the third question they asked was, have you ever had cancer? And my husband had leukemia as a child.
Oh.
When he was 4. He's completely cured now. He was cured by the time he was 7 or 8.
Wow.
And completely cancer-free. But he's like, did you have chemotherapy or radiation? Yes, they did.
Wow.
And they now know that can affect for men or women, can affect your reproduction later in life.
Wow.
That's why certain cancer patients who are adults, if they're about to go into treatment, will sometimes freeze their eggs or freeze their sperm.
Sure.
Even if they're way ahead of the possibility of having kids, that way they have that opportunity. But my husband was 4.
Right. You're not thinking about that as a parent of a 4-year-old?
No, absolutely not. Nor should you.
Right.
And they actually the doctor asked my husband, and we both laughed. They're like, well, did you save any of your sperm? He's like, no, I was 4. No, that's not a thing, sir. That's
not gosh. Oh, just the implications of that.
I was like, no.
Next question, please.
Yeah, please. Let's move on. Oh. So we figured out the crux of it beyond just us being in our 30s. And obviously there are some decrease in fertility when you're in your 30s, just in general. So the doctor gave him some suggestions for vitamins, but that was it's as good as it's going to get, basically, is the way it is. Mm-hmm. So went back to the fancy baby doctor after we had this information. And she's like, so based on your sperm counts and all of everything else, my suggestion is to do IVF, in vitro fertilization. Mm-hmm. And so we did that. And we started that process the first time in October of 2020. Yeah. I was like, let me make sure I'm getting my timelines correctly. Yeah, August something. Yeah. So so IVF, for those who are not familiar, it's really 2 processes that happen one right after the other. You have the lead up to the egg retrieval and then the implantation. So the first set for the egg retrieval is because normally a woman produces 1 to 2 eggs every cycle when they ovulate. Mm-hmm. IVF wants to increase those odds. So with the usage of medication that you inject into yourself, mm-hmm. you increase your egg production. Mm-hmm. And then they take the eggs out fertilize them with the either donor sperm or my husband's sperm in my case, and then let it grow in a petri dish for 3 to 5 days. And then they put it back. During that period, now you flip to different meds that essentially set you up to be pregnant. You use a hormone called progesterone, which is a hormone that naturally occurring that helps you get and stay pregnant. And those are really fun shots that you get in your bum. And it's during the process where I was very grateful that my mother is a retired nurse practitioner. Yeah. Because she knows she had to teach me and my husband how to give me shots. Aww. And as a child, I was actually very afraid of needles. I no longer have that problem because I did IVF. And frankly, you have to get over it real quick. Sure. Real quick. So we did that. We got 4 eggs from the egg retrieval. They were fertilized. They let them grow for about a week. They were doing okay. And then they implanted 1, and then there 2 were sort of left to see if they could grow to potentially be frozen for future kids down the road. Then you have the 2-week wait, which is the longest 2 weeks of your entire life, where you just have to wait to find out if you get pregnant and find out if it works, basically. And you go in after the 2 weeks is over, they take a little bit of blood to do a blood pregnancy test, and they call you later that day and tell you either it worked or it didn't. And I got the call, I believe 4 days before Christmas that year, that it did not work. Oh no. And a few days later, we found out that the 2 that were potentially going to be frozen didn't make it. Oh my gosh. So it was a complete flop. Oh. It sucks. It's devastating. You feel awful. I'm sure. I remember the day I got the phone call that it didn't work out. My husband was out working. He came back. I knew I was going to have the big ugly cry as soon as the words come out of your mouth. Yeah. So I'm like, hold off. I'm not even going to talk. I'm not even going to look at him, because as soon as it's going to be a mess. I'm not a cute crier. I'm a very ugly crier. I'm not either. I lose all like control of my facial features. Right. It's not cute. Some people are very elegant. I am not. I'm not. I'm a very ugly crier. So I try to avoid it. So I left until I clocked out for lunch, went and told him, had the ugly cry, did the whole thing. I knew that I had that hour to kind of slightly rebuild myself back up before I went back to work. Sure. And then I had a follow-up appointment with the fancy baby doctor about a month later to sort of see, okay, what next steps are there? And she's like, we overall just didn't get a great output. We need to figure out why. And so we did some more testing. My husband had a second opinion with a different urologist. It was actually a urologist from the University of Michigan. And I also try to adjust your lifestyle habits to sort of get better ready to potentially try again. So over the process, I think I lost between 30 and 40 pounds. And I was on every single vitamin I've ever heard of. It was a very long list. Yeah. Going to other doctors that have like a piece of paper for all the the vitamins and everything I was on. It was nuts. Yeah. But we knew we wanted to try one more time. Okay. If not, but we wanted to make it the best possible outcome and throw everything at it. But also what we did in the meantime was, because I didn't want to put all of my emotional eggs in one basket, we started looking into adoption, fostering to adopt, starting that application, because that takes about 6 months to a year itself. So we're like, well, if it doesn't work out, we're already in the process of another option. and we can go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to do that sort of simultaneously.
Okay.
We sold our house in June, moved in August,
Okay.
and then started gearing up to try again. Second round, you'll notice how things will improve and when I give you the odds. The first time we only got 4 eggs from the egg retrieval. The second time we got 10.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So 10, 8 of them fertilized. They grew over the next 5 days or so, and they implanted on Veterans Day in 2021 because I had the day off. I work for a bank, so I get fancy bank holidays off that nobody pays attention to.
Yeah.
I get one next week actually, which is very
good for you.
Yeah, I get bank holidays off. It's holidays that but other people who work for banks and governments are about the only ones who know that they exist.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good days to have off.
I enjoy them. I always enjoy them. But yeah, Veterans Day 2021, they implanted an embryo and then we were able to freeze 2.
Okay.
So that was really good. So that whole second time, both my husband and I were thinking independently, like this is going a lot better, but not saying anything because you don't want to jinx it.
Sure.
So we're like, so we thought it independently, got the 2-week wait through, and my appointment was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving that last November. And the lead up was insane. The Sunday night before, one of our cats peed all over everything in our basement. Oh my gosh. That was gross. Had to clean that up. The Monday night, I was working in my office. My husband comes in and all of a sudden he's like, Emily? Nobody says your name that way when things are going well.
It's not a good thing. No,
it's not a good thing. Everything is, I'm like, oh no. I run downstairs. There's water everywhere. Our hot water heater, the seal broke. So that stunk. Called the plumber. He's like, well, if I come out tonight, it's going to be $3,000 because it's an emergency service.
Oh, rude.
But he's like, if I come tomorrow, it's $1,200. I was like, well, that's fine, but you need to help me get rid of all this water before I agree to this. And he showed us how to, you take a garden hose and direct the water to either your sump pump or the drain. So, okay, fine. Cleaned all that up. The next morning, I go to the doctor's office, get my blood drawn, come back home. The plumber comes, and my interactions with plumbers, they're like, it's broken. I'm like, I know. That's why you're here.
Yeah. I can't not just catch people at like the best time,
I'm like, I'm not calling a plumber if something's not wrong.
Right.
That's not a thing. He's like, well, in order to fix it, you'll have to replace the hot water heater. I'm like, so replace the hot water heater.
Yeah. Do it.
Why are you asking these stupid questions?
What are we waiting for, sir?
Whatever. Yes, please. Tick the box that I told you to replace my hot water heater. I don't want to take cold hobo baths for the next week. Okay? Please and thank you.
It's a pass for me.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay. So I go up to work. I have my a monthly check-in with my boss every month where it's just kind of like, hey, how's it going? How are things going? And I know the phone call is coming, but I don't know when.
Yeah.
And of course it happens in the middle of my meeting with my boss.
Oh.
And I see the phone go off and I have it listed in my phone as the fancy baby doctor because, we don't need any ambiguity. I'm like, there's no way I'm not taking this call. So I tell my boss, I was like, oh, my doctor's office has called me. Can I please put you on hold? Yeah. I put my boss on hold, pick up the phone call. I'm like, this may be a terrible idea, but I'm going to do it anyway because I can't not know.
Right.
So picked up the phone and Becky, the IVF nurse, and she's like, so hi, how are you today? I'm like, you tell me how I am because you're about to tell me how that
ruin or make my
exactly. Yeah. She's like, well, you should be pretty good because you're pregnant. And I was like, yes. And I did a little happy dance in my office and it was great. And then I had to get my boss off hold I'm like, the first person I tell that I'm pregnant should not be my boss.
Right. Agreed. Yeah.
So I was like, I got her back on the phone. I was like, oh yeah, sorry about that. And she's like, oh, is everything okay? I was like, oh yeah, it's just some test results. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
It's technically true.
It is true.
It's just technically true. It's not lying. It's just tweaking just a little.
I don't need to know.
So that's how I found out I was pregnant. That's the lead up. I told my boss eventually that technically she could have almost been the first person who found out I was pregnant. Was because
I would like let it. I'm the kind of person I would just let it slip. I would be like, oh no, it's out. It came out.
It basically how it happened with my friends. Well, basically because they offered me an alcoholic beverage and I had to say no. I had to say no. They're like,
then they know immediately.
Like, are you pregnant? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. You're like, obviously, because otherwise I would be drinking right now.
Yeah, pretty much. That's really the only reason I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
But yeah, but we had a really we got to tell our nearest and dearest over Christmas, which was really fun. We're all gingers over here, my husband, myself, and now my son. Aww. And so we sent my mother-in-law, gave my mom and my brother and sister-in-law, we baked gingerbread and had a little note that said there's gingerbread in the oven.
Oh, I love that. That's so creative. That's so fun.
We did think that it was a recipe for gingerbread cookies, but it happened to just be gingerbread, which I did not previously know was a thing. But it is.
Fair point. Yeah. I don't think I knew that was a thing either, but
I didn't either. But I was like, this is just bread. This is just bread. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Did not read all the fine print on that one. My bad. The joke is still there, so we're keeping it.
Yeah. So this took you over
3 years. 3 years to get pregnant. Yeah, it took us 3 years from when we pulled the goalie till when we got the official positive pregnancy test. I have had one positive pregnancy test in my entire life.
Yeah, that's wild. What a wild ride.
Yeah,
he's here now, and
he is. He was born in July. He's about to be a year old, and he's I think he's the cutest kid alive, but I'm incredibly biased.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly biased. But yeah, he's great. He's doing well. He's thriving. He finally has a little bit of hair, not a lot, but it's definitely red. We did not give him a whole lot of options on that score.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna be a ginger kid. We've got all the sunscreens, don't worry. We've got all the sunscreens, I promise. But he's doing great. He's in daycare a couple days a week. I dropped him off this morning, and yeah, he's doing well.
Good. Well, that's an incredible story. That's a lot. And I mean,
yeah, I'm sorry, that was a lot.
No, I just mean the whole process is so much. And I have friends who have struggled with getting pregnant, but not going through the whole process. So yeah, I can only imagine how emotionally trying that was. And then to finally get a positive.
Oh God, yeah. It makes it that much sweeter when you, when you did have to go through all of those negative tests.
Yeah.
I even did something I didn't have to do, because obviously I had the blood test from the doctor. I still did it. I still went into the bathroom and used one of the at-home pregnancy tests to literally have the proper one to be like, I finally got it to go positive.
Yeah, right. You're like, I didn't know it. Yes. I think that's so good though. It's like such a momentous thing, and to still be able to give yourself that experience. Good for you.
Yeah. I was like, I'm still gonna do it. It's stupid, but I don't care.
No, it's not stupid. It's not stupid at all. Aww.
But yeah, so it's great.
So he's here. You talked a little bit about daycare. You're a working mom. Like, what is life like now, trying to juggle all the things?
It's definitely, like, it can be very chaotic in the morning, right up until I take him to daycare, because, I've got to pre-fill all the bottles and label them. And, he's currently a big fan of like having a little disco party at like an hour before the alarm goes off, which, is
I
not
did that this morning too.
great.
Yeah.
If we could stop that, that would be super.
Right. Like, love you. I'll see you in an hour.
Like, you're okay. Like, come on. Okay. But yeah, it's been great. And also I knew, because I do work from home, I didn't have to immediately put him in daycare, which was nice.
Yeah.
I always knew I'd be a working mom. I had a working mom as a kid, hence why I know you.
Yes.
Hence why I know you.
Thanks to working moms, right?
Yeah, and I thought as a kid, everybody had a working mom. I only knew one person as a kid who had a stay-at-home mom, and it was my
Right.
cousin. Because everybody I knew from daycare, and they all had working moms.
I never thought about that, but you're so right. Because it seems so natural for me that my husband's mom stayed home, and I'm just like, what is this?
Yeah, no, I thought everybody had a working mom.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it made me more independent,
Yes.
or at least better able to handle, once I went to school. I remember the first day of school, all these kids were crying, and the parents were crying, and there were kids thinking like they were leaving them forever.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, bye mom, see you later. I knew the deal. I knew you're dropping me off now. I'm going to go have fun and play, and you'll be back later to pick me up. Like I knew the routine. And I've noticed with my son, even just his development within the last, couple months that he's been in daycare, because he sees other kids, and there aren't as many things where you can take little kids to do anymore.
Right.
I tried to find some.
Yeah.
Even just like play groups, or,
well, most of those happen during the day while you're working.
Right. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work.
Right.
But all right, new plan. But I've seen him grow, because he can see other kids. He's like, oh, that's how that kid got that toy. Oh, okay. And I think it's done a world of good, and to have just a bigger swath of people who are, helping him grow and develop, and, doing activities that I never would have thought of, because I am not a daycare teacher by profession. So I never would have thought of that. Like, one thing they did was like, they put a whole bunch of toys in Jello, and like had them like dig them out basically. And
I could never do that at my house.
Apparently daycare teachers love to give little children baths, because they love to get them dirty.
Oh my god.
I'm like, that's fine. Go for it. Enjoy.
Do that all day over there.
Go for it. Just hose them off at the end. We'll be fine. But yeah, it's one thing that has been an adjustment, and I would tell any parent who's about to put them in daycare, be prepared for the first couple months. They're going to get sick a lot. It's not because the facility is not good, or because the facility is not clean or anything of that nature. It is literally because they have been isolated up until that point.
Right.
And they've not been exposed to that kind of illnesses before, and their bodies aren't ready for it. It reminds me of I was a substitute teacher in a previous life. And the first year I substitute taught, I got sick like every other week, because little kids are super cute carrier monkeys of everything.
You're nicer than I am. I'm like, they're disgusting. Like, I love them. They're gross.
Oh no, the little children are incredibly cute and very gross. And, I was exposed to every single like virus or, illness that first year. But after that, I had like superhuman immunity.
Yes. Yep.
And that's kind of what I have to remind myself with Parker is, because he's had a viral infection so far. He's had a yeast infection and had a stomach flu tummy bug.
Oh yeah. That's always mixed in with stomach flu.
Oh yeah. Well, that one we all got. Which that was when my husband and I basically got sick within like 15 minutes to a half hour of each other.
Yeah.
So,
it was that too with our first.
Thank God for Pepto-Bismol and toilet paper.
I was gonna say, hopefully multiple bathrooms in the home.
Yes, thank God for that also. But I'm like, it got real gross, real fast. But
you're so right though, and it is not reflective on the center and its sanitation or anything like that at all. No. It just happens. And we kind of forgot with the age gap. Like we knew it was going to happen, but like it was like the constant nose drip, like the green gook coming out of their nose at all times. And it kind of dissipated. You don't really notice it's gone until you've had a stretch where nobody's sick. But we did the same thing. She ended up with RSV and COVID at the same time in the fall.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, here we go. Like this is it. It just is. But
it is. And that's, something, because I see that a lot, because even though this is 2023 and there are so many working parents and so many different things, it's been years. I feel like there's still the same judgment of people who put their kids in daycare that my parents had when in the 80s.
Yes. Cut the shit.
Like,
what is it? What is that?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, I went to daycare from 6 weeks old till I was 13.
Yeah.
And
very similar. Yes.
Yeah. And I had a great time. I enjoyed myself. I learned a lot. Like I said, it made me more independent.
Yeah.
And also it gave my parents the peace of mind to know that I was being taken care of. And by people who really cared.
Yes. And we went to a phenomenal daycare.
100%.
So great. So amazing. I'm friends with, do you remember Heather?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm friends with her.
Gosh.
Yeah. I'm so friends with her on Facebook, and her grandparents who started the thing just recently passed, like within the
last. No, I knew that Mr. Boardman had passed.
Yeah, and Mrs. Boardman semi-recently, and I'm like, I have such fond memories of your grandparents and like the amazing care that they provided. So
yeah, I mean, and the teachers were great. The lady who was in the baby room with both me and my brother, we used to go trick-or-treating at her house every single year up until I graduated from high school, because that was her birthday. Her name was Miss Ruth, and we would go there every single Halloween, like up until my brother graduated from high school. We would pop in and say hello. Like, these people become such a big part of your extended family, because you do see your kids and they care about your kids.
Yes. So amen to daycare. There's no shame in it. And
nope.
It feels hard to drop, especially your little one. It feels so hard to drop them off. Been there, done that. I totally resonate with that. But in this day and age when we're talking about like, where's your village? It takes a village. Daycare's our village. These people love my children, and 100%. I'm so thankful for them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And, because I went to a great daycare as a kid, I just kind of use that as my model of looking for a daycare for my son. Yeah. Like, because there's a very wide range of facilities out there, from really, small in-home places to there are some like chains, which I didn't know was a thing until previous. Yeah. Until when I started looking, I was like, that's weird. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't know that there was such a thing as a chain daycare.
Right.
But there is. Yeah. And I literally found something where I was just like, this fits. Like, it feels very much like the daycare I went to as a kid. It's not too small. It's not too big. It felt like it was right there in the middle. Yeah. So I was like, I have good feelings about it.
Yeah, it's so important to tour. And I know COVID, it was kind of hard to do that. So we're not offering that, but like, you got to touch into that gut, feeling as a mom. And like, how does it feel? And if you're getting a feeling of ick, or like something's not sitting right, like honor that. And
like if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not.
Absolutely.
It probably isn't. Like I said, if it doesn't feel right, I'm like, there's probably, and maybe nothing, but it may be right for somebody else. But if it's not right for you, don't worry about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I know you're a busy working mom, so we'll wrap it up. But thank you so much for sharing your story. It was so insightful for me, and I hope, it sheds some light for someone who may be walking a similar path.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, like I said, it takes a long time sometimes, but you get there and keep soldiering on sometimes. That's what you got to do, and use your options. And there's more than one way to bring a child into your life, however that comes in. It doesn't matter. You're still that kid's mom or that kid's dad.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I give me chills because it's so true. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Emily. This was great.
All right. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thank you again to Emily for joining us today. I know you are a busy working mom, and I so appreciate you taking the time out to chat with us and share your story. Here are today's key takeaways. First, IVF is an incredible journey with a multitude of ups and downs, but it is incredibly worth the physical and emotional demands, the time, and the effort once that sweet baby arrives. 2, daycare provides amazing opportunities for your little ones. They learn from other children in their classes, yes, even as babies, and experience activities designed to expand their little minds in their specific stage of development. 3, beware of the daycare plague. Your child will get sick, and often, in the first year of daycare. They will even share the plague with you at times. It is not a reflection of the facility or its cleanliness. It's just part of being in daycare. 4, there is no shame in putting your children in daycare. As adults, Emily and I both have very fond memories of being in childcare while our parents worked, and we both firmly believe that we are stronger people for it. And lastly, there is more than one way to bring a child into your life. The means by which they arrive does not matter. You are still their parents. Until next time, come join me on Instagram or on Facebook at Having a Mom Moment. And if you are interested in sharing your own motherhood journey or are knowledgeable on a topic that you think is important for moms, I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and check out the guest questionnaire in the show notes and we can start planning your episode. Also coming out this week is my new and free maternity leave planning guide. It is 18 pages of goodness just for you. And I hope that if you are past the stage of needing something like this, maybe you can pass the tool along to someone in your life who might benefit. That will be available on my Instagram in the link tree in my bio. Thanks again for joining us. Your listens do not go unnoticed, and I appreciate you. So until next time, just remember, you are amazing, you are loved, and I am so proud of the woman that you are. Take care.